Hello, art friends. Today I'm excited to share with you about ancient Egyptian scarab beetles, sometimes called sacred scarabs. I created step-by-step how to draw a scarab beetle for us to follow. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And if you're watching this on a device, then when it's time for when I show you the demonstration, how to draw it, I'll leave that there for a moment, and you could pause your video if you wanted to be able to see the step-by-step, or you could follow along with me when I do my drawing. I'll be drawing in my sketchbook. You'll need a paper, something to draw on. You'll need something to draw with, like a pencil, and then something to color with. I'm going to use crayons in my example, but you're welcome to use color pencils, markers, whatever coloring media, art media you prefer is fine. So there's a really interesting history here about these scarab beetles and how they are involved with ancient Egyptian art. So I'm going to share with you about that. Then I'll show you the drawing tutorial. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so I wanted to just first show you some butterflies in some ancient Egyptian art. And then here you can see some scarab beetles. Now, the scarab beetle in ancient Egyptian art represents the sun god Re. And so I found a really great clip, an entomologist talking about ancient Egyptian art and the beetle and its representation there. So let me share that with you, and then I'll show you my drawing demonstration. I mentioned that this presenter, who's going to tell us more about King Tut and sacred scarabs, is an entomologist. An entomologist is a scientist that studies insects. All right, now here we go.
We're here at the San Diego Natural History Museum in our new exhibit on King Tut, about the discovery of King Tut, and we're standing next to one of the big wow pieces within the exhibit, and right next to me you can see here a representation of an insect within this exhibit, and we see here what is often referred to as the sacred scarab beetle. And you'd be hard-pressed to walk through this exhibit without encountering a scarab beetle along the way. They're everywhere within the hieroglyphics, repeated over and over again. This is a winged scarab, but clearly those wings are much more representative of a bird's wings. And so sometimes they would kind of do animal mashups.
One of the reasons the scarab is so prevalent in King Tut's tomb is that it's part of his name.
So the cartouche it's supposed to be emblematic of a circle of rope. So you can actually even see how it could be a knot tied down here. And the circle of rope is to protect the name of the person who's inside of it. And we've got 3 different hieroglyphics here. One here represents all, and then the scarab represents form or manifestation, and these 3 little dots make it plural, so all manifestations or forms of the sun god Ra.
Wall pulls out examples of some real scarabs from the Nat's extensive collection.
There is a particular scarab that is thought to be the representation that the Egyptians based their sacred scarabs off of, and they were dark like this.
But once again, you'll find Hollywood movies trying to give bugs a bad name by depicting the scarab in various mummy films as lethal or cursed.
Contrary to what the popular movies might depict, what we actually see when we look back into the mythology and the religion of Egypt is that the scarab was associated with the transport of the sun across the sky. And you might wonder, why scarabs? Why are scarabs in charge of rolling the sun across the sky? And it's because they're not just scarab beetles, but more specifically, they're dung beetles that, according to our natural history research, we know take these balls of dung and they roll them up and they lay eggs in them. And so the rolling symbolizes the rolling of the sun, but then also out of these balls of dung, out of this earth, this grossness of dung, emerges these new scarabs, and this is the metamorphosis or the rebirth from dust.
Wall says you often see this more positive imagery of bugs in religions that use animals as representations of their gods.
And there is a field, not a very large field, but a field of what we call cultural entomology of this very thing. How do insects play into popular culture, ancient cultures, etc.? And they all, for the most part, tie back to the natural history. And what it tells me is that these cultures were very observant of what was going on in their natural environment, and they incorporated these insects into their stories and their cultures and their fireside tales in their religion, and it was based off of their actual observations. There's some examples that aren't necessarily spot on, but they're pretty close.
And that's how a simple dung beetle became a sacred scarab. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
Okay, now we're ready to get started on our drawing now that we know a little bit more about this sacred scarab. So I have here how to draw an Egyptian scarab, and I'm starting with an oval, doing mine fairly large. Then you do a horizontal line, then a vertical line, and then the head. So there gives me the head, thorax, abdomen. So this is an insect, but I need those, the head was a little off center, so centering that. And here are my 6 legs, making this a true insect. And actually, if you wanted to stop your drawing there, you could. I'm adding the sun, and I wanted to give it the look of the ancient Egyptian amulets that depict the sacred scarab. So I'm adding in these extra elements that are optional for you. And then right here at the end of the drawing demonstration, I show the step-by-step directions. So if you're looking at this on a device and you want to pause that there to follow along, you could. Now that I've finished my drawing, I'm tidying up a few little things there on my drawing, I'm ready to color. And as I mentioned, I'm going to be using crayons to color mine, but I also mentioned that you could use any coloring media that you like. Notice I'm coloring lightly with the crayon, and then I go in with another color and I can color lightly, building those layers of color, fading one into another. I find this is a really beautiful technique that works well with crayon. It also works well with color pencil, so if you like this technique and want to try it with color pencil, that works well. Crayon tends to cover a larger area, and so I like crayon for that. So there are my little 6 legs, and again, you could stop there or keep going like I've done here. And I was thinking back to the amulets, the ancient Egyptian amulets, specifically the one related to King Tutankhamun, King Tut, when I was looking for inspiration for how to color this. So I used a lot of bands or stripes of color, a striped pattern, repetition creating that pattern, which was inspired by the different gemstones that they had in that amulet, that necklace. For the beetle, I used cool colors and then a mixture of cool and warm colors for the wing, leg, sun ray design. Warm colors there for the sun, cool colors for the beetle. And then I went over the whole thing and did I blended in a little shade there, a dark black outline just to help my whole drawing really pop. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today a drawing inspired by ancient Egyptian scarabs. Enjoy!